On my fight fans, man, welcome to another episode of Bourbon and Boxing. I am your host once again, Jeff, and this is episode 31, baby. We're going to call this, I have no idea, man. Sometimes I don't even want to name my episodes. We'll just call it episode 31. We had some big fights yesterday. I'm going to give you my reaction to the Thursday night fight card that we got from ESPN. And then I'm also going to tell you this week's fight schedule for Saturday. And we're going to go over a little bit of boxing news, guys. Like always, of course, this is Bourbon and Boxing. We're going to drink bourbon, and we're going to talk boxing. And of course, we don't start the show until we take a little bit of shot, man. So take this shot with me, and let's talk about my sponsor, why we do that, man. Brown Family Construction. For any of your construction needs in the Northern Kentucky or Cincinnati area, feel free to hit up Brown Family Construction, where the name says it all. They treat you like family, and they get the job done. Jason Brown is the guy to hit up. You can contact them on Facebook, get all their information on Facebook, or at the end of my show where I leave it at the end of every episode, man. So watch to the end so you can get that information and get some good work done, indoor or outdoor, man. These guys are really good. Brown Family Construction. All right, guys. We had a pretty big fight week Thursday. Fight card on Thursday. Of course, we had a nice one on Wednesday and Thursday this week, and then we'll get Saturday fights. Can't complain. Full week of boxing like last week. Another full week of boxing. No complaints from me at all. Yesterday's fights, of course, I could be like everybody else crying about what happened yesterday, but I'm going to give you my little breakdown, and we're going to go over my reaction on the fights that we saw. We saw some good undercard fights too, guys. But before we do that, man, let's take a shot. Uncle Nearest is what we are drinking on again, man. Why buy more bourbon when you got good bourbon in house? Uncle Nearest, man. Good, smooth bourbon. 2020, 2021, and 22. Number one selling bourbon in America, guys. Not just number one selling bourbon. Number one selling bourbon in America, guys. So here's a toast to that. And to get this show started, thank you guys for joining me, man. And let's start off, man. Let's hit this shot and start the show. All right, man. Oh, goodness. Reaction. But anyways, man, yesterday we had a rare Thursday night fight, boxing night here in the U.S. And it showcased a really good card overall. I thought, top to bottom, some really good fighters, some good young fighters that we got to watch. Nice little undercard, and I want to talk about the undercard and two guys on the undercard that I'm really impressed with, and I'd like to see their level of talent step up a little bit. But let's get into the co-main event to our main event, which was Navarrete versus Conceição. Uh, this fight was a lot tougher than what I think Navarrete or a lot of people thought was going to be for Navarrete. He was never in danger, guys. He was never hurt. Conceição threw some good punches, hit some good body punches, very active. I think that's where it threw Navarrete off a little bit was how active Conceição was. I mean, he was just throwing punches, just throwing them and throwing them and throwing them and throwing them. There was no in between stoppage for him. He was throwing punches while Navarrete was throwing punches. He was making it a little tough for him to really just unload like he normally does. The issue I was seeing with Navarrete yesterday in those fights were he was waiting way too long to explode, to try to attack. I saw him do it a lot in the last 25, 30 seconds of the fight. Try to start, going at him and going for big body shots or big punches on Conceição. But it was just too late, man. You can't start that late in a round. He was allowing too much of the rounds to be wasted. He was wasting a lot of rounds, and I contribute that to Conceição's activity, being very active the way he was, man. He was throwing punches and bunches, guys. A lot of punches being thrown. So I contribute that to him not allowing Navarrete to unload, set up, and get into like a sniper mode to where he could get him to where he was starting and boom, boom, start setting up those big punches. Conceição was not having it yesterday. He was going to allow him to do that. And then every time he had the opportunity to do it, it was only 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds left in a round. The round that really confused me more than any of them for Navarrete would have been round 12. the round that I would have thought that he would have went out there and really went off on Concepcion and just went for it all and just said, screw it. But maybe he thought he had convincingly won the fight, which I think if even with the 2 knockdowns that he got, uh, in his head, he might have been thinking, well, I've done enough to win this fight. I don't need to go out in the 12th round and wear myself out to prove anything. But he needed that 12th round. And he didn't. He allowed Concepcion to have it with just not being active, period. Like, I thought, I kept waiting for him to come on. Okay, there's a minute left. What are you doing? You know, there's a minute and a half left. What are you doing? There's a minute left. What are you doing? 30 seconds. What the fuck are you doing? It aggravated me a little bit, the 12th round. I didn't like the 12th round. I thought that's what gave it a draw, and that's what cost the win for Navarrete. He didn't get the loss, but he didn't get the win either. It ended up being a majority draw. 2 refs had it a draw, 1 had it in favor of Navarrete. Really not for sure how that works in boxing either. If you've got 2 judges calling it a draw, 1 judge favoring on the side of one guy, you would think the guy that won the judge would have won the fight. But in boxing, it's a majority split decision. And, I give Concepcion a lot of credit for being active, but I think that activity also gave him a little bit more praise than what I thought he deserved in that fight. He fought a hell of a fight. He kept punching. But we saw him in times where he was wobbling back to his corner. He was hurt. He was out of breath. We didn't one time see Navarrete hurt. He got hit with a big shot, I want to say, in the second round, maybe the first round, and it kind of like a thumb to the eye. And then he got hit with a couple other body shots that were pretty decent, but it was nothing that actually hurt Navarrete at all. I never saw that he was in any trouble in that fight. He controlled the fight, even when he wasn't being active, and Concepcion was being active. Concepcion had to be active. So he never had really a chance to set up his own game plan because his game plan was just throw punches. I'm just going to throw punches. And, I guess that's what worked for him to get the draw and all that. But even with that being done, with the high velocity of punches that Concepcion threw, 874 punches, I still thought Navarrete controlled enough of the fight to get the win, and he was never in any danger. So I would have given it to Navarrete, unanimous decision in my opinion. I think he should have won that fight because he knocked him down twice. He was a more aggressive fighter. He landed the bigger, harder punches. And it's not like he wasn't active. He was out there throwing punches. He threw 400, almost 500 punches himself. So, he wasn't super active, but that has a lot to do with Concepcion. He's just throwing punches nonstop. Made it tougher for Navarrete, but it was a good fight for Navarrete. Maybe another fight against Concepcion. Again, I don't know if it goes the same way. But overall, really great fight all around. It went 12 rounds. Like I said, majority draw. Navarrete remains the title holder. Always go to the belts remain with a majority draw. But then you had the main event, which drew a lot of criticism, guys. Going in, I didn't hear anything about Shakur's injuries, his illness, he was supposedly sick, he was hurt. This is what kind of came out towards the end of the fight. Later on today by, I guess his manager, whoever, was also stating that he wasn't 100% for this fight. Shakur refused to use that as an excuse, although he did hit on it a little bit. He didn't look himself in the ring. The fight overall was a snoozer. It had me falling asleep. Number one, if you're going to do Thursday fights, man, I think you got to – they started – and what's crazy is they started at 5:35. But you had 6 or 7 fights on this card. I think the main card should have been ready by 11 o'clock. You know what I mean? Instead, it didn't get started till after 12. And by that time, I'm dead ass tired. It's a Thursday. I'm not used to staying up that late on Thursdays. I wasn't feeling that great. So, I started feeling like crap for some reason. Started feeling really bad, getting a headache and everything. So it was hard for me to really concentrate on the fight being later like that. So I went back and I watched it again today when I had the opportunity. Wasn't feeling that great today. But when I started feeling a little bit better, I decided to go back, rewatch this fight. And it was about the same results as I had yesterday. It just made me want to fall asleep. De Los Santos is claiming that, Shakur just ran and he didn't have a chance. But, man, let's be realistic. He landed 13% of his punches. Neither of these guys in a 12-round fight even threw double digits in any of the rounds. So De La Sante is talking about, Shakur ran and he didn't give me a chance and I'm above his level. Like, number one, you were on a big stage and had an opportunity to showcase what you had, De Los Santos, and you looked like shit. You looked like a bum. You didn't look like a threat to anybody. You threw as much punches as Shakur did, and if Shakur was really fighting with one hand, like they're saying, and he was sick, then now you're talking shit about, you know, not beating a guy who only had one hand, and that you're above his level. You're better than Shakur, is what you claim. You're not. You look like all that stuff that you talked. I was ready to see you come out. I was ready to see the power that you had, see if you were a threat. And I'm going to be honest with you, not impressed with De Los Santos. He talked a lot, but he didn't back up what he was talking about, regardless of Shakur. Shakur's a great defensive guy. The average punches landed on him is usually around 13%. So that was about the average. But you got to throw punches to land punches. And if you're not throwing shit, then you're not going to land anything. Even if you think the guy's running, you're still going to attempt to try to throw some punches, corner him, catch him, cut the ring off, do shit like that. He made no adjustments. He just fought a boring ass fight. And it was both sides. It was for a main event. This was definitely not good for ESPN Top Rank. This was a bad, bad main event, guys. When I said I went back and tried to watch it again today, it helped me take a nap. It was just terrible, man. It was just one of those fights that if Shakur was not 100%, it's hard for me to really give you my opinion. I'm not going to bash Shakur, man. I think he's way better than what we saw yesterday. Anybody who's if you're a casual fan, then you got the worst part of it, and you're thinking, what the fuck is the hype on this kid? He looked like shit. He didn't do anything in there. So, I mean, for us boxing fans, we know that's not who Shakur is. And, I look forward to seeing him in the ring again to redeem himself because we know he can. He is one of the best fighters out there. And, maybe he says some time off, but I don't feel like he fought a lot this year. I saw him one time earlier this year, so 2 times in the ring. Maybe take some time out of the gym or whatever he's talking about to get yourself healthy, whatever you need to do, because we want to see the Shakur at his top level, man. We don't want to see that Shakur from last night. And think about it, guys. If he was sick and was fighting with one hand, he still won the WBC belt. He still won the fight. So, what's that say about De Los Santos? You got beat by a one-handed sick guy. And it wasn't a draw. It wasn't, it wasn't even any controversy that you should have won that fight. I hate a guy who runs his mouth before the fight, does nothing, and then has the nerve to run his mouth after the fight after doing nothing. Like he went out there and he just threw 600 punches. Shakur just ran. No, buddy, you fucking, it's hard for me to believe that it was the lowest punches thrown in CompuBox history. So let's just go there. I mean, that's not good, man. If you're De Los Santos, you were healthy, and you threw, I don't know how true this is, less than 40 punches. 40 punches or less, and landed in the fight. So, I don't know. That's bad, man. That was not a good look for Top Rank. Not what you want from one of your best fighters. Good thing the card overall wasn't bad. So the main event being a little late than what it should have been, I think that put a lot of people to sleep. And then the fight being so goddamn boring definitely put people to sleep. So not a good look. But overall, let's talk about the undercard. You had 2 great young prospects on there, 3 altogether. I really wasn't impressed with the Floyd Diaz guy. He's been out of the ring and active for a while, coming off an injury, all that kind of stuff. So ring rust, I get that, but wasn't super impressed by him. But the 2 guys that I really like on there was, the Abdullah Mason kid, who I've talked about before. He looked absolutely spectacular in his last 2 fights for Top Rank. And then you had the Vargas kid on there, who also looked spectacular. Both of these guys are in the light division. So why not team them up? Top Rank, I know Top Rank probably doesn't want to do that with two of their top guys, obviously. And that's the issue with Top Rank, man, is that they want to baby these guys too much. And what you see with Abdullah Mason is that he has all the tools. He has the ring IQ. The same thing with the Vargas kid. He's got the tools, the ring IQ, and he's got that's something special to both of them. That they can draw some tickets, and maybe that's why they wouldn't want to pair them up against each other. But damn, if you want to have two young prospects in a good fight, right there, you got it. You got them in the same stable as it is right now, and you could put a hell of a fight together with those guys. I don't know if they could do a main event, but that'd be a hell of a co-main event for especially for those two guys do their first 10-round fights. I don't know if they did 10 yesterday or not. I think Vargas was in a 10-round fight yesterday. So was Abdullah Mason. But, put them in a 10, 12-round fight and put them as a co-main event. And I think that's a hell of a fight, guys. A hell of a fight, man. Both of those guys are great up-and-coming young talent. The Vargas boy, of course, what makes him dangerous is he's not fighting for the money. He's fighting for the legacy. He's fighting to chase his father's legacy. He's fighting for the love of the sport. And then that's what makes a guy like that dangerous when you're not fighting for the money, because you don't need the money. Those guys are always dangerous fighters. But, let's get into this week's fight schedule. We have a pretty good fight schedule this week. Even with Thursday, you would think that would overshadow this week. But there's some really good fights, guys. Let's get into our fight schedule this week. Diego Panchero, he's going up against Morello Conceras, and that's going to be on the Zone tomorrow night. And then you're going to have on Sky Sports, which is also going to be on NBC Peacock Sports. You're going to have Adam Azim versus Frank Petitjean. Petitjean. I don't know what the hell that guy's last name. I know some French shit. I probably butchered the hell out of it. But then on ESPN, one of my favorite fighters, Isaac Dogbo, is going to be on against Nick Ball. So you get Nick Ball versus Isaac Dogbo on ESPN. That's going to be a hell of a fight. That's one I'm going to tune into. I'm, of course, going to check out the NBC fight with Sky, with the Adam Azim, which I've seen him before. I haven't seen Frank Petitjean. Petitjean. I don't know. But I haven't seen that guy fight, so I don't know anything about him. I know a little bit about Adam Azim. He's a pretty good fighter. Diego Panchero, he's a good young fighter. That's going to be on the Zone. I haven't been catching a lot of the Zone fights. Dropped a subscription to them, but I'll try to tune in somehow to that fight. All right, and let's move on to a little bit of boxing news, guys. Some news that we got today. We got a fight announcement today. Butler versus Rolls. That was announced to go on February 23rd. That's going to be a good fight to start the year out with those two guys. Of course, Crawford responds to the IBF strip and to Boots Ennis, pretty much claiming that, Crawford's ducking him. And then, of course, Crawford saying, hey, we gave him 2 contracts. He didn't accept either of the contracts, so he turned down the fights, not me. Saying, hey, Boots, we know you guys like Boots, but, he doesn't think Boots is on his level. And the IBF is kind of, bullshit that they stripped him of his belts. And I get that because it is kind of bullshit. The guy just fought 4 months ago, just unified the division, and not even 4 months fully into holding all the belts, you strip him of it, and then give it to another guy. As we call them email champions at this point now. So, and I'm for sure that Boots doesn't want to earn it that way. But at the same time, man, Boots should have fought Stannis a long time ago. That eliminator fight should have happened. Once again, this is boxing. When you have WBC, WBA, IBF, all making their own rules, it makes it hard for it to be, a controlled sport. If they were all on the same rules, they were all on the same rule basis, then you might, Crawford should have been able to, what do you call that? Go in and argue his case on, you can't take my belt from me. That should have been able to go to arbitration case, something like that, to where he could go in and fight for that belt because he doesn't deserve to lose about 4 months after unifying the division when you got guys out here setting out 3 years and the WBC's doing nothing. But then the WBC stripping Haney when he moves up. They're stripping, Charlo when he moved up, but they're letting the other Charlo brother hold the belt for 3 years and then fight a non-title belt. This is the inconsistency, rocky road that you get in boxing, man. And this is what makes it such a wild, wild west sport, guys. Too many different sanctioning bodies. There should be one sanctioning body, one set of rules. It would make sure mandatories happen, and we would have gotten a mandatory eliminator fight, in my opinion, and it should have been, because why is Boots automatically the mandatory? And Stanionis has proven that he's just as good. I think both of those guys should be in an eliminator fight for the number one mandatory, and it should have happened a long time ago, and it didn't. But now the IBF wants to be tough guys and take Crawford's belt, and we're going to set the example. Not. I can see why he's not happy with that. And to be honest with you, I think Crawford beats the brakes off of Boots Ennis, and I like Boots, and I think Boots is a great fighter. But I've said it before. There's levels to this game. Boots is not on the same level as Crawford, and I just think that would be a bad fight for him. So go ahead and fight Stanionis, fight somebody else. You go fight Crawford, you're just going to lose that belt again. I wouldn't mind seeing Crawford just go and say, okay, I'll fight him. I'm going to get my belt back. I'll fight him, and then I'll drop all the belts. Fuck you guys. That's what I would do if I was Crawford, because, he's got so many options. He doesn't have to stay at the 147, even though there are other optional fights for him. Everybody's like, oh, he's above Stanionis. I don't see him fighting, Mario Barros, and I don't see him fighting Boots Ennis, but I do see him fighting Josh Taylor, and I do see him fighting Teofimo Lopez. Those are two good fights with a lot of money involved, and, I think he beats both of them, but still two really good fights for him at 147. So he does have options there. Let's also get into some other announcements today. We're talking about NBC Sports. I talked about, they're going to be doing the Sky Sports. Now, I don't know if Sky Sports and Boxer are coexisting together, and that's the same fight that's going to happen tomorrow night. But I know Boxer had signed a contract with NBC Sports. I thought, but I've only seen one fight on there. There is another fight by Boxer this weekend. Don't know if it's the same fight that Sky Sports is putting on, because they're working with NBC Sports now also / Peacock. So is NBC Sports trying to slowly get back into boxing? Are they testing the grounds? Why aren't they testing them here in the U.S.? Why are we only testing, the Sky Sports, the Europeans are, why are we not testing here in the States also? There are some great, like, Pro Box TV. I'd love to see them on, like, an NBC Sports level. Eye the Tiger out of Canada, which is currently teamed up with ESPN. They have a nice promotional company in ESPN. Well, they are a promotional company, but they team up with ESPN to put on some nice fights. And they just signed somebody also. Can't remember his name. But I'll get into that maybe on another episode. But we also got yesterday news that Oshaki Foster inks a deal with Top Rank. To me, this could possibly set up a Navarrete fight. Foster Navarrete for the belts later in the 2024. I know I spoke a lot about Shakur versus Navarrete, and I think, honestly, where does Shakur go from here? If Lomachenko is locked up in a fight with Kambosa, as we are hearing, he's not going to get that fight. I don't see him getting a tank fight anytime soon. Is Haney going to come back down to defend his belts, or is he just going to drop them and stay at 140? There are a lot of questions there on where Shakur can go next. I think a fight. I said 2024 that he could possibly fight Navarrete. That's what I was thinking. That would be a good fight for him, in my opinion. But he's got to get healthy. So will that elongate him from fighting anytime soon in 2024? And is he going to take most of the year off? I don't think we see Shakur in the ring until April, May of 2024, possibly June. Will Navarrete wait that long? He fought, 3 times this year already. So, he's been in the ring. He could take a little bit of time off too, and I don't think it would hurt him. But there's also some good fights at 130 for Navarrete with Shaki Foster now moving up, and they're talking the talk of Lee Wood moving up to the 130. Now, I don't know how well Matchroom Top Rank would work together on trying to get that fight done with Lee Woods and Navarrete. Or, some of the other fights that are available. But Shaki Foster now signing with Top Rank makes that a lot easier to set that fight up. And I'll tell you what, I was super impressed with Foster's last fight against Rocky Hernandez. So that, to me, is definitely, especially with the punches that Navarrete takes, even though it seems like it doesn't hurt him, at what point is it going to affect him? All right, at what point is he going to come across somebody who has just enough power to affect him? And Foster might be that guy, man. That would be a hell of a fight. I don't know how, Navarrete's style matches up with Foster or how Foster handles that style. I would go back and look at a lot of what Conceição did. But Conceição, man, he took a lot of big punches that would take a lot of other guys down, and he did fall twice in that fight, but still, a lot of guys wouldn't have gotten up from a couple of those punches. So, he's a little bit tougher than what people give him credit for. And I said that on my last show that he's the type of fighter that's either going to come out like he did against Valdez, and look like a world champion, a gold medal, Olympic winner, or he's going to come out like he did against Shakur. He didn't look that great against Shakur. But at the same time, you have two opponents that Shakur faced that Navarrete has now faced, and they both beat both of those opponents. I guess Navarrete didn't beat Conceição. He got a draw in that fight, but in my opinion, he beat him. But let's say it was a draw on record, and that's what it's going to stand as, regardless of what I say. But anyways, guys, man, thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Bourbon and Boxing, man. Pretty much just wanted to wrap up the news that we heard this week, give you guys a fight schedule for this week coming up. Like I said, looking forward to the Nick Ball versus Isaac Dogbo fight. Dogbo's always in good fights, man. Good guy to watch. So I'll be tuning in to that one tomorrow. And remember, there are three main fight cards tomorrow. The Zone, Sky Sports, and ESPN all will be hosting fights. I don't know if they're going to be stagnated. Pretty sure the Sky Sports and, of course, the Zone are going to be overseas. No. The Zone's going to be here in the States, in California, actually. So that's probably going to be a later fight along with the Dogbo fight. So you're going to have to choose on which ones you guys are going to want to watch. But anyways, man, thank you for joining me. Once again, this is episode 31. I'm your host, Jeff. This is Bourbon and Boxing, baby, where the drink is bourbon and the talk is boxing. Man, subscribe if you enjoy the show. Interact with me in comments. I'll interact with you guys back, man. I love to argue. If you guys hear me talking some bullshit, call me out, man. Or if you just want to conversate, we can conversate. I like doing that too. But like I said, thank you guys for joining me, man. Let's take this other shot, man, and let's call this episode 31 a wrap, guys. Thank you for joining me once again. I'm Jeff, your host.